Hey everybody, I'm Michael Andersen, and this is Fantasy Avenue, where each week we talk about everything you need to know in the world of fantasy football. Hello, and welcome once again to Fantasy Avenue, your road to fantasy football victory. Today's episode is a little different. We've been going position by position all the way up to the start of the NFL season. This week we're doing 3 positions. We're doing tight end, defense, kicker, and a little add-on of rookies. So probably a big episode today. We're just kind of getting it all out of the way. A little bit less info for each individual thing to make up a whole episode. So, yeah. Let's start off with tight ends. Then we'll go defense, then kickers, and then we'll go for a couple of rookies you want to look out for this year. Starting off with tight ends. Very underrated fantasy position. The main thing you want out of the tight end spot is consistency. With big names like Travis Kelce, who everybody knows, they can put up like wide receiver type numbers. So you either want consistency or a big name, right? And it's about your draft strategy. I have multiple leagues this year, and in all of them, I never got Travis Kelce. I never got a top 2. In only one league, I got a top 5 tight end, just because of that's not how my draft strategy works. I want a good, consistent 10 points from the tight end, and where I will really get my points is running backs and receivers. But let's hop into it. Number 1 is Travis Kelce. This is a guy who goes in the first or second round of almost every draft, and for good reason. Last year was the first time since 2015 he didn't lead tight ends in points. So he's consistency, like I said, but also a huge name, and that's why he's drafted so high, because he is consistently, like, he could fit in point-wise with the top 10 wide receivers. And as a tight end, that's very, very good. But you have to pay a price for it. So let's see. He's looking to rebound. He's looking to rebound from a number 2 tight end is a bad year for him. He's looking to rebound, gain some targets lost in the offense without Tyreek Hill. He should have a big year. He is. I mean, Juju's on the Chiefs, but he is Mahomes' main weapon, and the guy Mahomes is most comfortable with throwing the ball. Even really with Tyreek Hill there, like mid-yardage situation, it would be Travis Kelce getting the ball. So I predict he will be back into his number 1 range. My number 2 tight end is Mark Andrews. He is coming off his best fantasy finish last season. He is the guy who knocked Travis Kelce off the number 1 pedestal. And I think Andrews is once again put in a steady position with a good offense. And he's going to get all the volume in the big moments from Lamar Jackson. You might not get all of them. The Ravens have Duvernay, and obviously the Ravens love to run the ball, but Mark Andrews will be a strong contender to lead the league in targets and receptions and receiving yards. And when you do that as a tight end, that's a big deal. My number 3 tight end, Kyle Pitts on the Falcons. He's a guy I love to draft. He's pretty underrated on draft boards. And he had a great, I can't remember the exact stats, but he finished amazingly last year in terms of tight ends, and he only had 1 touchdown the whole year. Like, that is so, I talk about how, touchdowns can fluctuate, and you don't want to draft a player after a big touchdown year because touchdowns change. They're hard to replicate. But that's the same with no touchdowns. Like, the odds that Kyle Pitts gets 1 touchdown again this year are so low that I believe he'll have another good year, add the touchdowns on, and he'll fight his way into the top 3 tight ends. My number 4 tight end is Dallas Goedert. Super underrated on the Eagles. He's a strong weapon for Jalen Hurts to look to, and another just underrated guy. You can really find tight ends like, honestly, I have a few leagues. In only one of my leagues did I draft a tight end, probably before like round 8. I got strong tight ends. I got Dallas Goedert, Dalton Schultz, Kyle Pitts, all these guys in super late rounds. All you want to find is good value, and Dallas Goedert is good value. My number 5 tight end is Darren Waller. Coming off a bit of an off year, he has had a couple injuries in the past, but he is still a crazy electric player, and it might be a little helpful to have Devontae Adams. Now, it's not a good thing, I'll say. But I don't know if it's that much of a bad thing because defenses are going to have a really tough time double teaming him with a linebacker underneath and a safety over top like they've always done with Devontae Adams on the other side, who will be taking a corner or safety. Like, there's just not enough players to double team both of those guys. And I think in most situations, the defense will double team Adams over Waller, giving Waller a good chance for a bounce back year. My number 6 tight end, George Kittle. Again, some injury concerns. Had a rough year last year, but he's still George Kittle. He's possibly the best overall tight end if you put blocking into the situation, which isn't accounted in fantasy, but he is one of the best tight ends in the NFL. And I think these Darren Waller and George Kittle, the last couple of years, thought of to contend with Travis Kelce for the number 1 spot. I think they'll bounce back. They might not get to the top spot, but I think they'll bounce back. Number 7, a guy I really like, Dalton Schultz, on the Cowboys. The Cowboys love to throw the ball. He gets a lot of volume, but the main reason is with only CeeDee Lamb as a real other receiving threat on a team who throws the ball that much, it's just guaranteed targets for a tight end. Like, you have a guy who can spread the field wide open, CeeDee Lamb, and a guy who can run the tough small routes underneath, get some PPR points, and rack up the catches in Dalton Schultz. So I love that about him. He doesn't have the big play ability of Darren Waller or Kyle Pitts, but he does have the consistent play ability of the guys in front of him. Number 8, TJ Hawkinson. Now, TJ, he could be one of the best players. Like, he could be one of the best tight ends in the NFL if he wasn't on the Lions. And I don't want to offend any Lions fans, but it's so hard. It's been so hard for that offense to gain its footing in the last few years to support high-end fantasy players. And I think it'll be the hard part again. So TJ, with all the talent he has, it's just going to be hard for him to break higher until the Lions show that they can maintain a good offense, which could be this year. I love their coach and the system that the Lions have. So it's just when they can come up with a consistent way to put an offense on the field and score some points. And I think TJ Hawkinson and the running back DeAndre Swift will be in the forefront of that point scoring. Number 9, we have Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz, he's an exciting player for me. I really like... He's on the Cardinals, right? It takes some getting used to after all that time on the Eagles. But he's an exciting player because of the weapons that the Cardinals have right now. Hollywood Brown is facing some suspension, some problems. Maybe not suspension, but he's in a little bit of scrutiny with the speeding. So there's always that chance. And with DeAndre Swift obviously coming out, not DeAndre Swift, DeAndre Hopkins coming out with some drug problems and a suspension, there's a good chance the Zach Ertz could be the number 1 weapon on that team in the first 6 weeks of the year. And with the tight end this low on the list, who all I'm looking for is consistency, that upside of being the number 1 guy is very exciting. Number 10, Hunter Henry. A guy, at this point in the list, after Zach Ertz, you're not going to find upside for that anymore, I don't think. Upside in that you could break into the top weapons on your team. Hunter Henry is good. I don't think he'll ever really be great. I am willing to bet money he'll never score more than 20 points this year, but I'm also willing to bet he'll never score lower than 5. And if you're in a last round trying to get a backup tight end, or you're just trying to fill a spot because you spent all your top tight ends getting good wide receivers and running backs, he is a good spot filler. Number 11 on the Rams, Tyler Higbee. Another guy, probably a spot filler. He has a little bit more upside than Hunter Henry, but is also kind of just shut down in games in the past. He's a risky pick in a crowded offense, and an offense that used him as much as they're ever going to in their Super Bowl run, and it wasn't an insane amount. It's hard. It's hard when you get to these tight ends. By this point, unless you're going a no tight end strategy where you get all your running backs and a quarterback and everything, at this point, and in my drafts, I have a starter by this point. These are backups that I'm just going to pick up or have on my team as a floater in case when my starting tight end either gets hurt, which hopefully that never happens, or goes to bye week. These guys will be ready. Number 12, Gerald Everett. Now, this is the last guy on my list for today, And this is one exception to that rule of he could be a starter. There's just so much uncertainty with him right now coming into the season. But as I've said, if you're gonna take a chance, right? If you're gonna have a backup tight end that you may only play one time the whole year, why not pick a kind of risky guy who hasn't really proved himself? That's fine. If you're gonna take a risk, take the risk. Don't have it's not super advantageous to have a guy that you know what you're getting on the bench every single week. But if you take a risky pick who could break into the top 8 tight ends and you take him as their last pick of the draft, right? Because I've had leagues where Gerald Everett hasn't even been picked. That is not a bad idea. So that's kind of my spiel on tight ends. Either grab a high-scoring guy in the start or get a mid-range guy who's consistent and will put up enough points to, in at least, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, he'll have 4 good weeks that you can say, wow, that guy did great this year or did great this week. And in the other weeks, as long as he's consistent, that is a good tight end for me. A consistent tight end who will pop off a couple weeks out of the season. So that's my tight ends. We're going to keep going on this episode. It's pretty short as of now. We're going to move quickly into defense and kickers. There's 2 main strategies when drafting defense and kickers. You can either find your top guy or your top defense, wait till the last couple of rounds and see if he falls to you. Or you can pick up and drop week by week. This is what I do. Finding your good matchups for your kicker's team and poor offenses that your defense will go against. So you're riding the waivers, finding the players that you want, and then next week you'll drop them. I did that last year. I follow bad teams. Like in the years past, I followed the Jaguars. Every single team, and this is a little weird, no offense to Jaguar fans or any fans with bad teams, but it's a good defensive strategy. I always used the defense that was playing the Jaguars that week because I knew the Jags didn't have a good offense, and that defense would most likely, unless that defense was super bad, and then I'd have to go to another bad team. But as long as that defense was a top 20 defense, I would take my chance that defense would shut down the Jags offense, and they usually do. Or you can wait for a top team like the Bills defense to fall for you as long as you don't reach, and that's a good strategy too. As long as you're not reaching in the draft, as long as you're not wasting a pick that could be used on a good backup running back or something, then it's a fine strategy to pick one defense and stay with it the whole year. It's just more likely that people are going to kind of waste their picks on that, and it's just not what I do. But here's my top defenses overall. If you're going to go with the overall strategy, the Bills. It was a tough defense. They got even better with the additions in the draft and Von Miller. They will be a strong defense this year. Number 2, the Rams. They're a safe pick with crazy talent and a Super Bowl winning system. They show what they can do last year. They have great players. They get picks. They get sacks. They are a good defense. Number 3, the Bucs. Another top pick, right? Defenses don't change as much as other players because it's 11 guys versus 1 guy, right? So once again, the Bucs are a top pick. They love to blitz. They're one of the most heavy blitzing teams in the NFL, which as long as you have good cover players that don't allow a lot of yards, that's a good thing for fantasy too because sacks are points. They can get you, I've seen the Bucs defense win weeks before because of just their non-stop pressure and aggression, get 5 sacks and a pick, and that is a good week for a fantasy defense. My number 4 overall defense is the Chargers. They're one of the most hyped teams coming in this year. Again, you don't want to reach on them because they could definitely bust as a defense, but they could set themselves really high. I'm just saying they could be overdrafted because of all the hype. So you want to be careful, but they're super hyped. They have a lot of new players on that defense. They should be good. We'll see what happens. And number 5, the 49ers. Riddled with injuries last year. We'll see how this defense fares. But I think without injuries, this is a easy top 5 defense. And with injuries, they frankly are not good. The 49ers have just been seemingly plagued by injuries the last couple of years, which is kind of how it happens for a lot of teams, but especially the 49ers have been talked about it. Like the 49ers, Chargers, Broncos are the 3 teams I think when I think of crazy injuries the last couple of years and just inability to get it done when it needs to be done. So we'll see how it goes for the 49ers this year. Now let's go just top week by week. This is what I do, so I'm going to spend more time on this one, obviously. But you can go the overall strategy, top week by week. So these are my top for the first couple weeks, right? Because we start with good matchups in the first couple weeks. And after whatever, week 2, week 3, I'm going to drop this defense and pick up a new one. My number 1 is the Broncos defense. They play the Seahawks without Russell Wilson, the Texans without Deshaun Watson now, and San Francisco 49ers still trying to decide between Jimmy G and Trey Lance. We'll see how it goes, but I'm predicting huge points for this defense in the first couple weeks. Yeah. Number 2, the 49ers defense. Now, this is the only team that goes between my overall and my top, so take that into consideration. Like, this is a good defense. They play the Bears, then the Seahawks, and then the Broncos. The Bears, I think, will be a big week. The Bears have so much inconsistency. There's always a chance for Fields to go off, and I'm not saying he's not going to, but it's a game of chance in the first couple weeks, right? You never really know who the bad offenses are going to be until a little bit later in the season. But for now, they play the Bears, Seattle, again with the Broncos playing Seattle, right? Don't know how that's going to go. And then the Broncos offense, I think that they will be good, but you never know. It might take a little bit for Russell Wilson to get going. So that's why the 49ers are in my top in both. The 49ers are a good pick for defense. Number 3 is the New Orleans Saints defense. This has been a historically good defense. They're kind of inconsistent, which is scary, but they play the Falcons, Bucks, and Panthers. Now, it seems a little weird to me. I'm not actually sure if that's right on my notes, because that's 3 division rivals. If that's true, then wow, that is a crazy start for the season. But I'm just going to go off it is, because I trust my notes, I guess. The Falcons offense, never really super consistent. They could be good, they could be bad. You never know. Bucks offense, that's the challenge. And maybe if you draft the New Orleans Saints, you play them against the Falcons, they do well. Then you grab the 49ers defense, who didn't do well against Chicago, but is coming off and is still playing a Seattle team without Russell Wilson and has a chance to kind of show that the Seahawks don't have much. There's a strategy for the draft and drop, right? The Saints play on this list the Falcons, Bucks, and Panthers. So 2 out of those 3 teams, I believe, will struggle. We'll see. That's just my strategy. I would, honestly, you can go 3 weeks, you can go 2 weeks, you can go 1 week, but every week I would look at the waiver wire and say who is playing the worst teams and who has the best defenses and who am I feeling the best. And I just go with that gut feeling and say, wow, like this okay defense, like the Broncos, okay defense, is playing a bad team. The 49ers, good defense, playing a okay team, right? It's that kind of thing. And that's what I like to do. I love to do it. And I also do that for kicker. So let's move on to kickers real quick. But, I mean, in the last, 5 years of me doing fantasy, I've done that every week, or every year, I mean. I don't know why I started doing it. I just did. It just made sense to me as a rookie fantasy footballer. And it's worked ever since. And I love it. It's a good draft strategy because you never have to reach for a defense. You can find a 10 overall defense, right, and start them the first week, and they start as the best because they played the worst team, and then you look like a genius. So if you want to look like a genius, follow my advice. I'm telling you. Number 2 in this section is the kickers. So we talked about defense. Let's go to kickers. I did the same thing. First, let's talk about top overall, and then we'll go to defense, and then we'll go to week by week. My top kicker for this year is Evan McPherson. He's on a good offense. He's crazy hyped, super clutch. He almost guaranteed will be overdrafted because everybody knows his name. But if you see him in the last couple rounds and you want to take that value, definitely take that value. I love his swagger. I love the Bengals swagger in general. But as kickers go, he's pretty cool. Number 2, Matt Gay. He is on a high-octane offense, and he's a bit of a safer pick. You always want safe consistency with kickers. So Matt Gay is that guy. Number 3, again, Justin Tucker. He has been the number 1 almost every year, and he might. But one thing about him is just you have to depend on the offense that you're on, right? So Evan McPherson is depending on one of the best offenses in the NFL. Justin Tucker is depending on kind of a pretty inconsistent Baltimore Ravens offense. So even though he will kick for anywhere and will be Like if you draft him, he will be your kicker all year. It's just a little harder. Number 4 is Tyler Bass. Another great kicker. I only did top 4 kickers and then top 2 for weeks. So this is the last overall top kicker. We have Tyler Bass. Another great kicker on a good offense. You know, you can either draft a guy like Justin Tucker, who is the kicker, or you can draft Tyler Bass and Matt Gay, who is the offense. And the kicker, the kickers can't do anything without the team they're on. So that's another good strategy. We'll move on to top kickers for the first weeks, and that's how I base it, is these teams are playing bad defenses, giving their kickers a lot of opportunities to play well. Either, like this one, top kickers for first weeks, they're playing bad defenses. My overall, a lot of them are top kickers on good offenses, like Tyler Bass. So let's move to the last part of this section. My number 1 kicker for the first weeks, again, it follows with the defense. It's Brandon McManus on Denver. They play the Seahawks, who are an defense, Houston, who's an defense, and then the 49ers. And I'm feeling very good about Russell Wilson coming into this year against a couple bad defenses. You know, you can go week by week. But Brandon McManus is a good top 10 kicker on a good offense playing bad defenses. So that's how I base it. My number 2 is Evan McPherson. So this is tough. And if you're doing this strategy and Brandon McManus and obviously Evan McPherson are both gone, then you'll have to look at week ones. You'll have to look at who is playing the poorer defenses. But my number 2 is Evan McPherson. He will probably be gone really early, but this is one reason why I have him high, is because the Bengals don't play good teams. They play the Steelers, Cowboys, and Jets, who I'm not saying are bad, but none of those teams are known for their defenses. And coming off that Super Bowl loss, I just know the Bengals are very hungry to win, to prove that loss was a flib in the system. So I think that Evan McPherson on that Bengals offense will come out hot and ready against those 3 teams. So there's my kickers. Whether you go with the overall strategy of defense and kickers, or whether you go with the week by week, I hope that those lists helped you. Now let's go real quick into rookies before we end this episode off. This will probably be the last episode before the season is starting, and we're going into week by week analysis of the weeks. So I hope you've enjoyed all these preseason episodes, and let's finish this one off. These are my rookies. Most of the time, you want to stay away from rookies on draft day, except for a late round snag or these guys. So it's always good if you have no idea who to draft, just draft a rookie, because they're underrated and some will pop off, right? Like, somebody's going to be the rookie of the year and have a great year. Maybe that's the guy you drafted. Or maybe it's one of these guys. My top quarterback rookie is Kenny Pickett. He's on the Steelers. I don't know if he's going to start, right? He's in a quarterback race. But he's a guy, like I've said, you can take a chance on, and he's a good backup. He has a week 1 start scenario for Pittsburgh, which is not a lot of quarterbacks have. But he can be a good backup, and he has a good supporting cast. Rookie quarterbacks are very risky, but I think this is the guy you want if you're going to take one. Now let's move to running backs. Running backs are a position that rookies can thrive in, because not a lot changes from college game in terms of like the speed of the game or who's throwing you the ball, right? If you're running back, you're behind a good offensive line, just run the ball. Use your God-given talents and run the ball. So Breece Hall on the Jets and James Cook on the Bills. Every single running back is coming into a crowded situation. Every top running back is coming into a crowded situation out of this year's draft. But I think these 2 could be the main guys in this draft that could be 3-down running backs, take the starting role, and Breece Hall is the overall more talented guy and could be the workhorse on a bad team, and James Cook, a little bit more uncertainty, but he could be the 3-down on the Bills. Good, high-flying offensive team. So we'll see. Next, running back, wide receivers. We start this with Drake London. There's other wide receivers. I'll get to him a little bit, but Drake London is the clear number 1 rookie wide receiver, coming into a number one wide receiver role without Calvin Ridley on the Falcons, and he's got the talent. There's uncertainty on the team, but there's uncertainty every single time you draft a rookie, so that's not something you want to clear away from. There is other rookie wide receivers to watch, but with Jameson Williams with an injury, Chris Olave with a super crowded wide receiver room, and Garrett Wilson with very shaky quarterback play, those are even heavier risks. So Drake London is the least risky rookie wide receiver. Now, the last player we're going to talk about this episode, Jelani Woods, tight end on the Colts. Woods, unlike the other top tight ends of the draft, is coming in to with a chance to start. He's not going to be behind a guy or even really splitting reps. The only thing about him is that he's pretty unproven. His upside is crazy. He's 6'7". He ran a 4.61 40-yard dash. He's 259 pounds. When you hear that, it sounds like one of the greatest athletes I've ever heard. And yet he doesn't have a lot of film, doesn't have a lot of crazy competition. I can't remember off the top of my head where he went to college, but it wasn't a huge college. He's just pretty unproven, and that's okay. If you're going to take a chance on a guy that might not start, take a chance on Jelani, because he's, as I've said, 6'7", 216. He runs a 40-yard dash faster than probably any person listening to this podcast. So if you're going to go for a risky late-round flyer as a backup who might pop off, Jelani is your guy. So that will be the episode. This is the last episode before we dive into week-by-week analysis, so I hope you enjoyed. We will see you guys again soon. Peace out and bye-bye.